And I would like to ask Amy Jacobson to join us here on the stage. Welcome, Amy. Amy and Kevin. Now, Amy, you grew up in the United States the first half of your life. Yeah. But your father is from Norway, and you moved to Norway then when you were 12 years old. And did you experience Norway in the beginning as a positive country? Did you like to be there? Was it good for you?
There's definitely a culture difference. I noticed differences in how the people were. They were a bit more cold than I was used to from my American upbringing. Of course, that's not all of them, so you customize and find those people who you find suit your own life. You know, I got to be with all my family in Norway, so that was very positive, and I made lots of friends, went to school, so yeah, up until I had my child, it was pretty good.
And then you had your child, and would you like to tell us a little bit more about what happened?
So I had my child in Kristiansand, and when he was 19 months old, the barnevern came on my door. I had just been in America about 2 weeks before, and apparently they had been trying to get in touch with me. I was in America. I let the health station, you know, the doctors know that I was there, so if they didn't get contact, that was the reason. The barnevern didn't get contact because, of course, I was not even in the country. When I came home and they came to the door, they said, well, you're going with us to the hospital or we're taking your child now. So, of course, if he needs, you know, hospital attention, you know, I'm there. So we went to the hospital. Kevin went as well as a concerned, you know, father. The next day, we had told them that, you know, we had an appointment with the lawyer, and about probably not even an hour after, they said that they're taking the child. So they came in with... Oh, yeah, because, you know, I was on the phone with the U.S. Embassy, and the embassy had said, well, they want me to come in immediately. And, of course, the nurses in the barnevern, they walk in the room when I'm on this private conversation with the authorities of the United States, and I'm guessing that was also a major reason for why they were so, you know, forceful in taking the child.
We stood in the hospital, and we are surrounded by 8 people, some policemen, and we are surrounded by nurses and the barnevern, everybody, and they say to me, yeah, we're gonna take your child now. And I ask, when can we see him again? We don't know that, the barnevern says. And then I start to argue. It's a film on YouTube, Legal Kidnapping, where I filmed the whole scene. After a while, I get the police says that I have to go out from the hospital, so I do that, while Amy is still with our son, Tyler. And while I'm outside the hospital, I take and change clothes to working clothes, so it looks maybe like I'm working at the hospital. And then I go in, and I remembered the room they were in when I was escorted by the police outside. And I see Tyler, and the police had left, so I knew that. And I go towards Tyler, and I take him up, and I start running with my son in my arms. And so I run to the car, and I put him in the car seat. I take on the belt, and then I start driving. I don't know where I'm driving, but you know, I did this as it was an impulsive act. So after a while, like 2 hours, in this drive, I can't think about anything. I just try to be normal, you know, and he doesn't suspicion anything, my son. I play with him, I go to the store, and I buy some food. And after 2 hours, I'm just driving on the road, like low speed and everything. They had tracked my movements by by telephone. So they had 4 police cars, and it was like a police car chase, but it was very low speed, 60 kilometers per hour. In that police chase, they blocked the road with a car. So I drive past that car, like carefully, and I see a police officer in the ground, you know, and I detect that he have a stone in his hand, and he throws the stone on the car to stop us. But you know, I don't know what the barnevern have told the police officers, but clearly something very serious. So then I remember I went down and I take my hand back, so I try to protect my son. Luckily, the stone doesn't hit the window and my child or me.
It was 2 inches from the window, and it would have smashed our child.
Yeah. So that, but like after some minutes, then we stop and they take me into the custody, and they take Tyler with them. So then I get in jail for 1 night because they accused me of kidnapping my own child.
As a note, he was found not guilty by the court because this was his own child, and as the doctor at the hospital had stated in the court discussion, was that Kevin did not endanger Tyler's life by taking him to get a last few moments with his own son. So apparently, you know, even though the barnevern wants you to believe that if you take your child when the barnevern is involved is illegal, it's your own child. How is that kidnapping?
Yeah. Can you tell us what are the accusations that barnevern has against you? Why did they do this?
Tyler, he was, as I said earlier, he was 19 months and he didn't want to go over to solid foods. He was primarily breastfed. I was asked by the doctors and nurses to come in about once a month because he should weigh more. He had flattened out on his weight curve and was getting very little from almost a year old till 19 months, which of course as a parent, you think, okay, once a month is what they want, but me as well as the father, we went in about 3 times a month to, you know, see what we could do to help him. He was still resisting. The child, you know, protection services offered no help to find a solution or to, you know, set up a schedule for Tyler, you know, a meal schedule or whatever. They had never observed us. The first time I actually met the people who decided to take my child, I had met them the day before for 1 hour in a car ride. That's all. So, you know, there's obviously a problem with when parents want to work with the barnevern and they refuse it. And as I said in court cases as well, it's like talking to a wall. When you ask, well, what can I do to help and, you know, to get Tyler home and that we could work with the barnevern, but they don't want to hear it. It's like talking to a wall. So, yeah, there's really no hope for parents who get involved with the barnevern.
Are you now trying to proceed with legal action? Are you talking to them? What is the prospect? What can you do now?
We've exhausted all the, you know, opportunities through the Norwegian court, the highest court, Høyesterett. They declined the case. Just recently, I'm actually in the process of sending it to the European Human Rights Court, and I've had wonderful help by international lawyers from France. So hopefully, you know, there's a slim chance of getting in, but, you know, you have to try. What would you not try to get your child to get, you know, to get back home?
May I ask you, but just say what you would like to say, how you cope with this situation? What do you do to be able to live with this?
Actually, I find that the best thing to cope with this is to try to do something, try to be active against what's going on in Norway, because at least you feel like you're doing something. It gives you a reason to, you know, how to spend the days and all that energy and all that frustration to put it to something that's actually useful, because this system needs to be changed. There's no doubt about it. And that it could still be like this after the Bondario case, and they don't even care. It's grotesque that they don't even look into the system.
Kevin?
What she said. Yeah, I would agree. I don't have much to add, but it's you know, you try to just I just sometimes pretend that everything is okay, and like I think that Tyler is home with Amy, and like because you have to go to sometimes a paradise, you know, that would be paradise if Tyler was home with his mother, and you have to just think that you're there. But when reality hits you, then it's like you have to do something and make people aware of what is happening and let other stories come forward, and so everybody can go together against this cruelty, what happens in Norway. So
it's probably hard to believe, even for you, every time you think of it.
yes.
How often can you see Tyler, and how far away does he live from where you are?
Tyler's been held on secret address ever since they took him. Apparently, they say in court that this hardly ever happens, but every single parent I've talked to, it's been on secret address. Which, I mean, think of parents who just lost their child, or even if it was 5, 10 years ago, you don't know where your child is. You don't know how these foster parents actually are. You never get to meet them, and, you know, just to get some serenity for yourself that, okay, you know, they're responsible people, they have good values, but you don't. You're just left there like a question mark in the bottom line. They don't care.
And they have changed Tyler's name 2 times, just because they are afraid of that we would suddenly know where he is. So they have changed his name 2 times, and we don't know where he is, or and we don't know what they have changed his name to.
And not only that, but you know, he's 4 years old, and in his only 4 years of life, he's had 3 different names. Can you imagine having a child and all of a sudden, instead of Tyler, you're going to call him for Christian or Jonathan? And the child's going to think, you know, what's wrong with you? That's not my name. And they do it repeatedly, and they say, oh, it's for the child's best because the parents can't know where he is, God forbid. But they don't think it's traumatizing for a child to keep changing his own name when he's so young and doesn't even understand what they're doing. I just think it's cruel.
So if a child has to be taken away, it would have to be taken away from Barnevernet for doing such things. Yeah. But do you see him? You don't see him at all?
No,
I
haven't seen him since, actually, yesterday. It had been 2 years since I saw him last, because they were feeling that there was an abduction risk, which there wasn't. But, you know, I'm American, I have family there. They even said in court, the judges were saying in court that, oh, but Kevin Mossman, that's German, as far as I'm concerned. And they were saying, well, there's a lot of Mossman in America. And I'm sitting there in court saying, well, I've lived there half my life. I've never heard a single person called Mossman. That's just baloney. That's, you know, what are the judges saying to point out that Kevin must also have family in America, and then Tyler definitely can't visit, you know, have visitation rights when he doesn't even have family that he's even connected to. It's like, you know, far off, never had contact, don't even know their names. So, you know, the reasons that even the judges come up with, I mean, it makes you wonder what's really going on in this system.
What's really going on in the system? I'm still wondering myself. It's hard, very hard to believe. But here you are, and you carry this cross. And can you, as a last question I would like to ask you, how do you see the future? What is your plan, and what is your hope? I mean, a court case in the European Court of Human Rights could take a very long time. What is your prospect, and how do you deal with it?
With what?
With your future, the plans for your future. What are you planning for yourself? And how do you see your future life in all of this?
Well, as far as life in Norway, I don't have a future there. I'm officially banned by the Barnevernet to not be able to have children. I think the same goes for Kevin, that he would also not be able to have children. So, you know, I'd never give up fighting for my own child, and I'll never be ready to even think about starting a new family without my first child is just wrong for me. So, you know, until fate takes its toll, then we'll just have to keep fighting.
And when, you know, when I got the job and everything, I was happy. You know, I was working in the oil and finally got a real job, and then everything was okay. Tyler was okay. He was with Amy. I could visit him whenever I wanted to, just agree with Amy beforehand, and everything was fine. Work-wise, I was doing a good job, and I could focus on my job as an insulator. But when after what happened with Tyler, that they took him away, I was working one day, and this colleague of mine, he said to me, he's not a psychologist, but he could see that I was in a very different world, because, you know, he could sense something was up with me, and it was, but, you know, work-wise, I had to hide it, put on a face, and, you know, go work and do your job, but it affects me every day, and I can't concentrate as much at work anymore, because I mean that the state have mentally abused me, Amy, and our son, and yeah, it's horrible. You know, it's you I can't describe it, but we have to make this work and get all the people together, which is in the same situation as us, and I hope many more will speak up.
Well, I'm very moved by your story, and I'm very sad. In a way, I have to say I feel with you very much, and I think that this is, I can say, for everybody. And what we can do now is, I think that all the people listening to this and all the people watching this on YouTube, that those who do believe in God, that we shall pray for you, that Tyler will come back and that God will console your hearts. And I thank you for your strength and testimony that you come to Austria to speak about it. I think this is, I hope, a remedy for Tyler, and I hope also for many others. Thank you so much, Amy and Kevin.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.